Hello, I'm Joel Blackford with Beth Asset Sabbath Fellowship. We are not meeting, we're virtual. The building's locked. I'm recovering from a sinus infection, so deal with me. I'm going to sound different today. Call first, 612-315-6778. We'll see what the fall holds. We do the philosophy of eschatology, what you need to know, your reality, our existence, what's going on, the story behind the story. We don't do all the stories. My friend John Haller does all the stories. He does it quite well. We try not to be disparate. We try to give you the information in a philosophical way, but yet, there's the information. You have to deal with the real stories. We are doing newspaper exegesis too, no doubt about it. So the B system is moving faster, but in what ways? I mean, I'm arguing that the seals are opening. I'm not sure if we're up to the fourth seal or not, but they seem to be opening. Definitely the third seal is open. The intriguing thing is that the thieves that run the world today seem to be promoted and appointed to greater offices. So the weird thing is that they're all stealing from us. Build Back Better is a way of stealing from the people and getting away with it. So Build Back Better, everybody is talking about it. Build Back Better, which is basically a way of breaking everything, not claiming the blame for breaking it and, forcing us to take the blame, and then turning around and rebuilding a really bad system after that. So everybody is promoting their Build Back Better version. We'll see how bad it gets. It might take time. What's new in the news about this is that Leo Hohmann presents this, that Yuval Noah Harari, who works for the World Economic Forum, says, we just don't need the vast majority of the population. So this is an article that just came out in the last few days here. We just don't need the vast majority of the population. He's extremely influential with the World Economic Forum. Useless class, unemployable people. We need to get rid of billions of useless eaters. And how do we do that? Well, he doesn't have a heart. He doesn't have a soul. So it's not going to go well. So what are we dealing with today? I mean, we have Klaus Schwab. We have the seals opening. Where are we at? Why aren't we in the Great Tribulation yet? Because we aren't. You just have to move along through the birth pangs. That's just the way life is. That's prophecy. Don't twist the Bible. Don't reinterpret the news. We're doing the philosophy of the end of days. Okay, so according to my calculations, and the only one that I can really say I know specifically is Seal 3 because it was part of a prophecy that worked out. So Seal 3 was 2012, about now during 2012, okay, during the summertime. Seal 1, I'm likening it to 1967 because as a Messianic Jewish believer, I'm saying that 67, when you win land and God gives you the victory, don't hand the land back. That was the most cataclysmic thing that's occurred in the last 100 years. And so these are all the birth pangs of the Messiah. Seal 2, I'm thinking, is 2001, 2003, related to 9/11. It really set off the destabilization. Those Bush Cheney idiots, the warmongers, the neocons, all said, hey, we can make some money off this. We can kill a few soldiers, but we don't care about lives. We care about oil money. We care about propping up our legacy and things like that. And then Seal 3 I know about, and it's really kind of related to the Arab Spring, but also to crop failures. And food prices going through the roof. So that's what I'm pointing out, that these are the birth pangs so far. Seal 4 is different. It's 4 different plagues. We'll discuss that again. So the Four Horsemen, according to how I believe, you should liken the four spirits of heaven from Zechariah, Zechariah 6, going out from standing in the presence of the Lord of the whole world. The one with the black horse is going towards the north. So that would be the third seal going towards the north, and the one with the white horses toward the east or the west. Okay, so that's Acharith. So when you do read Zechariah 6, please read it in the NIV. I know that's a joke, but it's the most accurate out there. They realized that Acharith was behind you. It's west. Kadem is east, although there are other words that could be used too. Dapple horses towards the south. So that matches up. And so Zechariah 6 makes sense, people. When you look at the four horsemen of the apocalypse, look. And it's interesting that they have the white horse going to the west in this picture. It's just interesting. So anyway, the main thing is that when you're looking for patterns, use the Old Testament to interpret the New Testament for patterns. Okay, so Seal 1. Spiritual Death of the West. This is from Michael Walsh and Stefan Molyneux, and they're saying we're dying, people. So their quote is, the defense of Western civilization is fundamentally futile. A culture that believes in nothing cannot defend itself. It has nothing to defend. It wants to destroy itself, and we're doing an excellent job of that. So I'm claiming that the West part of this first seal is that. Now, you can argue that corona sounds like in Latin, the crown, and all these other things. It's okay. So here's the problem. It's not a crown like a corona, not in the Latin. It is a Stephanos, not a. I'm blanking on the other term. I'm a little bit thick-headed right now. So anyway, it's a Stephanos. It's a winner's wreath. It's not a corona, and it's not a crown like that. It's not what those guys think it is. And these guys are all coming in with their weird ideas about the seals, and they're not really looking at the Greek text and the Hebrew text too, for that matter. So I'm going to stick with my theory unless it breaks at some point in time. Okay, so spiritually dying, the West is dying. There's a few people out there that are willing to discuss this. Jordan Peterson is one of them. He says, I don't see how we could possibly be stupider here in the West unless we took courses in stupidity. I agree with Jordan. Okay, other points that are more fourth seal related, but still stupid West. The World Economic Forum at Davos says 1.2 billion people will need to be forced to migrate. Oh, great. That's Laura Logan saying that. The WEF, the World Economic Forum, wants to build tri-state smart city out of farmland taken from the Netherlands, Belgium, and Germany to be populated by tens of millions of immigrants from around the world. They don't plan on feeding them. They just plan on populating them. Stupid people. 1 billion people will starve to death by 2025. So those are combinations, but it's the stupidity of the West first, and that's the first seal. Kill 1 billion people and force another billion to migrate from their homes in the third world, knowing that the lack of food combined with massive migration will lead to a pandemic. Yep, that's Bill Gates. He loves that. So mass starvation and mass migration to neoliberal fantasies about climate, carbon dioxide, and nitrogen. They did heatedly discuss, and so these poor Dutch farmers, they're being driven off their land, and nobody plans on growing any crops anymore. And it's Schwab and Gates and all these other idiots that really don't understand land. So an old MacDonald had a farm taken away. Yes, that's the problem. So Henry McCall, I don't necessarily agree with him, but you can see that certain organizations, the Bilderbergs, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, Kissinger Associates, others, WEF, the West is ruled by 30 families. That makes sense. And about 6,000 minions. Serious debate if those 6,000 minions allowed us to have free and open debate on climate change or anything else that mattered. No, it doesn't. So Macau's correct with that. Who rules the West? About 30 families. Okay, this is Victor Davis Hanson, brilliant man, and he's one of those guys that always agrees with me that we're fomenting a civil war. We're trying to destroy the Western civilization, and so rather than looking at Joe Biden's polls, which are stagnating, and at the midterms where they don't know the issues, they're going to try to blame Russia and other stupid things. So Hayden gained recent notoriety for comparing Trump's continuation of the administration's border detention facilities to Hitler death camps, and then blaming Russian disinformation or Russian collusion or democracy dies in darkness. Now that's Victor saying that. That's brilliant. Okay, so they're blaming anybody that disagrees with them as being insurrectionists, and they're concocting failed stories all the time, blaming what really is insignificant. Okay, and so what it did to was give the left an excuse to weaponize the nation's capital with barbed wire. So January 6th, and thousands of federal troops rather, and they militarized Washington D.C., the greatest since the Civil War. So in contrast, they overlooked Antifa and BLM rioters as being non-essential, and the lethal death toll was 35 dead, 2 billion in property losses, and so the left terms that a conservative is a revolutionist, and that anybody on the left that wants to be a revolutionist is just a nice person. So this is why the West will fall, because we aren't able to work hard enough to be able to fight these battles anymore. The left has set it up where all the money goes to their people. They fund their causes, and so maybe we're too affluent. That's what Victor is saying. We're just too affluent to be able to fight anymore, but it looks like we're going to fall apart. Okay, the second seal. The Bushes, with their mission accomplished wars, which accomplished nothing other than destabilizing the world. And so they used 9/11 as a reason to go to Iraq and Afghanistan and destabilize Libya and all the things that they did. And now it's moving forward into Russia, Ukraine, but it's the same thing, destabilize. And so the second seal is not going away; it's increasing, just like the first seal. The West is falling apart even more. So the second seal is increasing, and these are wars east of Jerusalem. I would argue it is kingdom wars, basileia, epi basileia in the Greek, from Matthew 24. What I'm saying in between the second and the third seal occurred is that Obama went to Cairo in 6/4 of 2009, and he blamed the Jews and he fomented the Arab Spring. And so really what his goal was to resurrect Iran and destabilize the Arab world, and he accomplished it. And so he slapped the Jews in the face, and he really defended the overrunning of Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, Libya, Yemen to start more wars. And so if you look at Obama as wanting to destabilize the world, then he was maybe the best ever. Okay, so that's June 4th. I can't give you an important date with that. I think it was Sivan 12, so I can't say that that was an important day in the year of Jewish history, but he did destabilize the world. It will be remembered, according to, this is Anne Bayevsky, his speech will be remembered as a major decline in human history. True, I agree. Okay, so the third horseman, we move on to that, and I'm arguing that that's the northern climes, and we're starting to see more. So when you open the third seal, I heard the third living creature say, "Come," and I looked, and behold, a black horse, and its rider had a pair of scales in his hand. That is from Zechariah 4, I want to say, and it has, or Ezekiel 4, and it talks about when you have the scales, that means your bread is going to be measured out. That's a sign of being in a curse, in a plague, because you've failed God. So, and I heard what seemed to be a voice in the midst of the four living creatures saying, "A quart of wheat for a day's wages, and do not harm the oil and the wine." We'll show that in a second here. So, Germany, first, let's talk about Germany. They're going to have a 50% crop loss, likely due to drought and stupidity from their government leaders. So they wouldn't give them the proper products that they needed to fertilize and to get the crops to grow, and then the rains didn't hit. So a 50% drop. Think about that, okay? And so 50% should rain not return soon, and it isn't looking like it's going to return. So that's Germany. But also Holland's got the problem because they want to destabilize the farmers over there. So it's not only issues with the land or with the products that you need to grow the crops, it's also the problem with the government being stupid, Western governments being stupid. That's the first seal. So the third seal, Biden declares 0% inflation. So think about this. This is Daisy Luther. So what she's saying is that Biden can declare that there's 0% interest in inflation in July of 2022. But the problem is, we know it's horrible. We know that we may not be able to afford rent or be able to afford these cars. They want us to get rid of our inexpensive cars and get these electric cars, and we can't afford them. And some of us can't plug them in conveniently. So the economic collapse will hit nearly everyone, but that's poor or middle class. It'll destroy the middle class, and it's designed to do so. We will pay for food, gas, and accommodations, but how do we pay for them? Well, we don't have the money. We're going to have to make hard choices. Do we feed our children or do we feed ourselves? Those types of decisions. And so Daisy's correct on this. This is what's happening right now. She just published this recently. So that's a sign of the third seal. When you're weighing your food and determining who eats it, that's the third seal. And you can say, in America, we still have our food, and I still have food here. The problem is, worldwide, it is going to hit other places first. According to Wilkerson, it's going to hit Germany first, and it is, and then it's going to hit Japan, and then it's going to hit us. So just wait it out. Third, seal. The wealthy don't gripe about the wine and the oil. Remember how I mentioned that? A quart of wheat for a denarius and a sloshah of quarts of barley, so 3 quarts of barley for a denarius. But the shemen, oil, and the yain, the wine, you may not harm. And so that's also Ezekiel 4:16. So if you pay $22 for a glass of champagne, you're probably and in New York, you're staying at a hotel where they're bussing in migrants next door to you, but you don't want to see them because you're wealthy. So $20 for a hand-stretched pizza in view of the New York City skyline, but that means that they're bussing people in from the Texas border right next door to you and putting you in $700 per night rooms right next door. So it's very interesting to see that. So when you see the migrations, that's basically the first of the plagues of the fourth seal. But then you're also seeing the third seal, which is these high prices, and only the wealthy can afford it. So the intriguing thing is, and don't ever take financial advice from me. Don't. Please don't. I'm the worst I've ever seen. And I'm a smart guy, but I always fail because I'm logical. And so anyway, Wall Street, biggest bear. So the problem is right now, Wall Street has no idea what to do. They're still investing in the Dow, but they don't know why. They just can't find anything else to invest in. And based on the Wilkerson prophecy, the U.S. is going to fall last. So why not invest in the USA? So this is an interesting guy named Henry D. Wilson. I don't know if he's factual or not, but America is going to be destroyed by fire. Sudden destruction is coming, and few will escape. In 1 hour, everything is going to change. Okay, well, that's fine. So that's August 20th of 2022, and that's what Henry D. Wilson says. It does match with Dudeman, Wilkerson, and Groover. It does. But I don't know if he's a prophet or not. Everybody wants to be a prophet, but few are. Okay, so the point is that we are paying more for our food, and the wealthy don't seem to care. That's fine. Okay, now I'm throwing this in as a filler between maybe the second, the third, and the fourth seals, just so you can see that this is from Paul Craig Roberts, and he's really saying Russia's destruction of the Ukraine military. They're doing it very slowly, and I am more on the side of Russia than I am on the Ukraine. And I've seen some more recent reports from people that are liberals that come in and see the Ukraine and realize there's something dirty going on here, people. Okay, and so what we're seeing is that this was created to be a war in the Ukraine so that the war wouldn't come to Germany or Poland or to America. So they said, well, we don't like Ukraine people, so let's kill them off and destroy some of the richest farmland in the world because this is the best place to have the war. And so Putin was really driven to this because in this case, the Germans and others and Americans have been trying to put nukes in Ukraine for years or other weaponry and build it up and start a war. So Putin's saying, I'm done with this. Okay. And so this is really just crazy Americans trying to start a war. And we didn't need to have it. If another person would have been president, we wouldn't have had this Ukraine war. He would have put a stop to it because this is shenanigans. Okay, so U.S. has doomed EU to hunger and cold. Yep. So that's a sign of the third seal, no doubt about it. And so the middle section of this is, has America been slated for starvation? The worldwide drought across the northern hemisphere and the disruption of ranches, farms, and food processing plants are going to impact food prices in the United States, leading many to the point of starvation. Now, that's from Steve Quayle. I couldn't get the link to open, though. I couldn't. It broke all the time. And so I can't show it better, so I just kind of put it in the middle of there. But basically, there's going to be hunger, people. And the stupid leaders are causing hunger to be even worse, but they want to kill people off. That is the fourth seal, and they want that, and they're really forcing that issue. So bottom line is that these stupid plans from the United States is really going to hurt the EU and hurt normal people that just want to eat. They don't want war, okay? But we're fomenting war, and we're causing it in the Ukraine, and it'll grow from there. Okay, so now let's move on to the fourth seal. Deaths are up 40%. Have you noticed? So the fourth horseman is, when he opened the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the fourth living creature call out, come. And I looked, and there was a pale green horse, green, chloros, representing death. Its rider's name was Death. That is Thanatos in the Greek. And that means death. Okay, so now that's our second symbol of death. Okay, Hades followed after him. Hades is the place of death. Okay, and the river Styx and all that stuff. Okay, that's the third reference to death. And they were given exousia. That is delegated to governments. It's not a judicial type of or a legislative. It's strictly the federal government making decisions. That's that kind of exousia. Authority over a fourth of the earth to kill. So that's 1.944 basically billion deaths with a Ramphea. So that's our third or fourth reference to death. Okay, Ramphea is part of death if you look it up from the Old Testament, from Zechariah 14. Okay, and it is supernatural death and invasion type deaths. Okay, that's the sword there. Then famine, that's limo, and that's crop failure. And then death, we don't know exactly what that means. That could be lots of different things. It's thanatos. And then the wild animals, that's therion. That's small animals, that's basically biological warfare. That's what that means. And that's what's coming along. So once again, the fourth seal signs are enemy evasions. That you need to be aware of that. So the broadsword, that Ramphea, is invasions, then crop failures and plagues of some sort, and biological warfare. That's the fourth seal. Okay. Even the pagans understand this, which is very interesting. When you see the pagans saying, well, the four horsemen of the apocalypse, they don't know what they're talking about, but they're going to claim that it's global warming. And so this is from the MDPI and their account on sustainability, harnessing the four horsemen of climate change, a framework for deep resilience, decarbonization, and planetary health in Ontario, Canada. They're doofuses, okay? They're absolute idiots. But they reinforce the fact that even the pagans get the four horsemen. Okay, so truth is crashing to the earth. Are we post-truth? Well, they're building a world where we don't understand what's up, what's down. They're trying to rob our land, our houses, our farms, our bodily autonomy, our money, our travel, our resources, our civil liberties, our minds. And once again, these are not petty thieves. These are the great thieves. And so their reset is coming, and it's not for your benefit, all of these organizations. So I love Peter McCulloch. He's a doctor, medical doctor, and so he's saying, here's what's coming. They're going to create global emergencies, claim ownership over the truth, accuse anyone against you as spreading misinformation or hate speech, pursue them with vengeance. Then we'll say, so basically he's saying, bring it on. I don't think he really wants to. I think we all need to fight back against these lunatics that are running the West into the ground. Okay, globalists will manage the transition. You don't want these people managing the transition, but they want to. They see the Build Back Better is coming, and so there's no precedent for nations collectively and intentionally trying to reduce economic activity, hiding behind the false justification that current inflation is driven by too much demand. Central banks in Europe, the Bank of England, Bank of Canada, U.S. Federal Reserve are raising interest rates. The outcome will be that we are currently feeling is an intentional economic contraction and global recession. They are forcing it, and they're saying it's not occurring, but it is. Build Back Better monetary policy is successfully shrinking Western economic activity, which will starve us out and kill people. The political policymakers are attempting to manage this process without informing the citizens of the unspoken goal. They're gaslighting us. Continuing on with the same article, beyond the massive increases in energy costs, which is the true source of inflation and direct intentional outcome of the Build Back Better effort, Europe is now facing a looming winter without energy resources to heat homes and sustain people. Things are going to be very uncomfortable in Europe this winter, as roaming brownouts are now predicted. As the collective West attempts to, this is based on, that first seal, that West falling apart, using their own words, manage the transition. The West thinks they can really pull this off. They're lunatics. That's that Western mindset that has gone crazy, bonkers. Okay, more Fourth Horsemen. But excuse me, this is the first plague of it, the invasions. You're seeing people crossing borders everywhere across the world as we deplete the world of food and other resources. They're going to move, and the World Economic Forum is causing that to occur. So Texas is now closing the gate and denying entry. at this major crossing location. Democrats love illegal immigration. They're not going to change the laws. Anybody who's caught in the act of coming in should be immediately placed back on the other side. So that's Rand Paul. Okay, so basically it's occurring. That is invasions, and it's happening. They're flying them in under the cover of darkness into various cities, and this is the Biden administration getting caught doing this. It's illegal, it's immoral, and we don't need to do this. We should build up the people where they are so that they have food and water where they are. They don't need to migrate because it doesn't make it any better. Once again, the fourth sign, the seal, the fourth horseman, Ramphea again, invasions of the wealthy. So New York City mayor says Abbott's policy from Texas is a second busload of Texas. So basically he's saying that it's Abbott's fault that the people are being bussed into New York City. But the problem is it's New York City's fault that they don't create a wall and help to build people up in the country that they live in. That's what we should be doing. Instead of fomenting wars, we should be fomenting food and other things, and less wars, obviously. And also, when you open up the borders, you're going to let the criminals through, so you're going to have fentanyl like you wouldn't believe, which is part of the fourth seal. Fourth seal, the Therion part of this, which is biological warfare and weapons and things like that. This is an article from Israel, from their Health and Science. The scariest weapon, bacteria and viruses as munitions. So the manner of distribution in biological warfare is diverse. The release of the pathogens from an airplane, contamination, potable water, food resources, infected animals, mosquitoes, fleas, things like that. It's a biological weapon with devastating psychological effect when you can't see it. I mean, if somebody is attacking you with a knife or a gun, you see it. When it's a biological weapon, you can't see it. Okay, the effects of the biological weapon can spread and can potentially be dangerous, even in places distant from the attack area. The attack with biological weapons is very difficult to detect, but it is detectable. It's traceable. Okay, so that's what's happening right now. And keep in mind, China understands this. And we won't relate it to the Wuhan virus, but they understand that. Okay. Fourth seal, birth rates are falling. Deaths are increasing. Those are two horrible things, and no one seems to care. So this is Peter Sweden from Norway, or Sweden, it doesn't matter, but he's citing Norway. Birth rate has fallen by 6% in the first quarter of the year compared to last year. Meanwhile, the overall deaths have increased by a shocking 18%. What's going on? Well, Revelation 6, 7 through 8 describes a future time when a fourth of the world's population dies from 4 plagues. He listed 2 of them. So in the last 70 years, fertility rates have decreased worldwide, and a total 50% decline. Think about that over 70 years, okay? Women's empowerment and education has not increased our birth rate. Women's participation in the workforce has not increased the birth rate. Lower child mortality. Technically we have that, but it hasn't really increased the fertility rates and increased cost of raising children. And that's too bad because the government's really taxing more for having children now. So this is a we forum. It's probably a liberal type of an organization, but they see it too. It's horrible. Lower fertility rates coupled with increased life expectancies around the world are creating an aging population, which puts pressure on healthcare systems globally. Great. Wilkerson, Germany will crash first. And in Germany right now, the energy apocalypse is happening. They are falling apart. They relied on wind and solar, and it ain't working. And when they cut off the natural gas, and they caused it, idiots. So that's one more case of the West falling apart. But when they do fall apart, that is the fourth seal. So Germans brace for colder apartments, dim streets this winter. They're going to freeze, and they're going to have to bring back rotten, filthy coal as a result of being stupid. So the fourth seal again, cold kills more than global warming. Keep that in mind. Heat doesn't cause death. Cold causes death. Okay, so winter is coming for the UK and other European capitals. They're not going to have the ability to heat themselves. They can't just run out and newer homes don't have fireplaces, so they can't go cut some wood and survive. So, this country feels like it's sinking into a trickle of energy-sucking, suffocating despond. The NHS is too crowded to treat patients. Excess death rates show untreated cancers, heart disease, and strokes from lockdown. So overloaded, they have stopped even bothering to investigate crime. under the threat of dire authoritarian punishment, or if we dare use a garden hose, though to be fair, who is going to arrest you? Really, because they don't have the time to arrest people anymore. Great. Fourth seal. Corporate execs are expecting a downturn. So Amazon is expecting a downturn. Walmart is expecting a downturn. The executives are planning for it this fall. They know it. So they're cutting back. They're cutting staff, canceling 40% of their marketing budget, froze hiring, and canceled all employee travel today. That was just in the last few days. So that's Walmart and Amazon know something's coming. Okay, and one more weird sign, this is fourth sealish, which is the cost of living is pushing UK women into prostitution. That is a sign of less population when your women are going into prostitution. This is horrific. Okay, we should be talking about these issues: inflation, border crisis, energy crisis, crime, Afghanistan, foreign policy, and Hunter Biden for that matter too. We're talking about that. We're talking about Russia, and we're really overlooking the fact that the world is falling apart. Okay, so basically what's happening across the world right now is they're saying it's time to be more agreeable. Just agree with Klaus Schwab and his ilk, Yuval Noah Harari. Otherwise, it's hate speech or misinformation. So, they're planning to destroy us because we won't act, because we're the West now and we're just too affluent and we don't know how to fight anymore. We don't know how to fight back properly. You don't fight back militarily. You fight back by voting and by enforcing the laws. That's how you properly fight back. That's the Western mindset. Okay, I want to cover one last little thing here, which is the picture in the middle. Car blast kills the daughter of Russian philosopher Dugin, Alexander Dugin. I've covered him for many, many years now. He is the heart and soul behind Putin, and his daughter was just murdered in a car bomb. He's not a bad guy. He is a guy that is Eurasian. He believes that they are the Fourth Reich, basically, that they come out of the original church, coming out of pardon me, coming out of the Middle East, which was, why am I blanking on the society there? Justinian I. Help me with where that's from. Byzantine, the Byzantinian Empire, that kind of moved up into Russia, and they are the last bastion of that, not the Roman Catholic Church. So he is just a thought provoker. He's not necessarily evil. He's a nationalist. Putin is a nationalist. Trump is a nationalist. Well, the globalists hate nationalists. And so the globalists probably had a hand in killing his daughter, and he's going to be pissed off. So just get ready. Sorry, I shouldn't say that, but that's going to happen. Okay, so where are we? We're in the birth pangs, guys. We seem to be moving into the fourth seal. I gave you more evidence of that. We're manufacturing more death, which is the fourth seal. We are not in the tribulation. We are not in the Great Tribulation. We're just moving along through this. I have no idea of when the next seal will open and the fourth horseman will be out, but I'm showing you signs, obviously. We need to be prepared for Yeshua's return. Well, we don't know if he's going to return on Rosh Hashanah or Yom Kippur or even Sukkot. We don't know, but we know the garments need to be clean. It's going to be a wedding, so work on that. Work on what you can do. Be blessed. Thank you very much for your time. God bless you, and I'll see you again, hopefully next